Everybody's talking about peptides at the moment, but what not a lot of people are talking about is the fact that the FDA scientists themselves said that they don't know what the chemical formula is for a lot of these peptides. My name is Melissa Nell. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm part of the Body 20 Nutrition Doctor team. And today I want to talk about peptides. Why are they blowing up? Are they all the hype that everybody's talking about? What happened at the FDA meeting or panel discussion in July? And hopefully give you some idea whether or not you should be injecting these products into your body. You're also welcome to send us any questions via WhatsApp or email, so let's jump into the video. Let's start with what a peptide even is. So a peptide is a short chain of amino acids, and amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So it's basically a small protein molecule. And your body actually makes these peptides naturally, like for example, insulin. Other peptides you probably know about is like, for example, peptides for skincare, or even GLP-1, which is a semaglutide, which is a very popular peptide that's also circulating at the moment. So over 80 peptides have actually been FDA approved. But the peptides that I'm talking about today, for example, BPC-157, TB-500, or even MOTS-C, are typically what's making a surge in social media, but they have not been FDA approved, and they are actually only nowadays sold as research purposes, which is basically a legal loophole. But these products are actually not for human use, but that is basically what they are being used for. Now, they have gained massive amount of popularity in the wellness and your longevity influencers, marketing them as these miracle drugs that's going to help your skin look beautiful, repair injuries, help with recovery, improve your sleep, and the list goes on and on and on, and also saying that they don't have any side effects. Why would that be? So if we're looking at the difference between your typical medications and peptides, we see that medications often work as a hammer approach. Think of antibiotics, for example. Antibiotics are very effective in killing bacteria, but unfortunately they kill all bacteria. So they'll kill the good bacteria in the gut as well. So it's a very hard, hectic process. Whereas peptides, because their molecules are so small, they're very targeted, leading to them only targeting a specific area and often not leading to side effects. And this is where they are gaining so much popularity, because people are seeing or claiming a lot of amazing results without any side effects, for example. So it sounds incredible, right? So that is why on the 23rd and the 24th of July this year, the FDA Advisory Committee met to discuss 7 of the most popular peptides and whether or not they should be allowed to be compounded by licensed compounding pharmacies. Because currently they aren't being compounded by pharmacies. They are being, like I said, sold as research use only from wherever you can find it, typically called the grey market. Now, it's important to note that BPC-157 and TB-500 actually was FDA approved but then banned in 2023. And that is why it got such a surge on the grey market, and that's why it's so easy to come by nowadays from almost anyone that's not even a medical practitioner. Now, when the FDA Advisory Council met, there was a lot of back and forth, and eventually they decided that 6 out of the 7 as a recommendation should be allowed to be compounded in a licensed pharmacy. And the main reason why they said this is not because they believe that the research is strong, that the evidence is great for these peptides. It's mainly to keep humans safe, because currently the grey market is going mad and everybody and anybody is selling these peptides, and the regulation around it is so poor. So the FDA panel actually decided to keep everyone safe. They should rather than make it legal for registered, licensed compounding pharmacies to produce these products so that it actually can be distributed safer as compared to what it is being distributed now. What struck me from this meeting is that a lot of these scientists said that they don't actually know how to vote for this, because they don't really know what the chemical formulations for a lot of these products are. Because where these peptides actually came from is the fact that, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that our bodies actually make our own peptides. Like, for example, BPC is called body protecting compound. It's actually made in your gut. However, BPC-157 is just a fragment of that BPC molecule. So now we are basically just looking at the theory to say that BPC is good for gut health, and it's also going to help with ligament and tendon repair. And a lot of people that have been using it off-label or through the legal loophole do say that it actually has those benefits. The same with TB-500. TB-500 has also been shown to be very effective in immunity and also wound healing and also health in general, because it actually comes from thymosin B4. Thymosin B4 has massive amount of studies behind it showing that it is an incredible molecule for these benefits. However, again, TB-500 is just a fragment of that, and TB-500 and BPC-157 on their own as fragments have not been studied much. That's the whole issue that we are facing at the moment. So the bottom line with the FDA panel discussion is that they recommended that these peptides be made legal to compound in licensed registered compounding pharmacies. However, they have not been FDA approved, even though you might have seen it on social media that now these products are FDA approved. So if you are getting BPC-157 or TB-500 or MOTS-C or GHK copper or whatever you are injecting, you are not getting it from a legal source, you are getting it from the grey market. Why is this a problem? Because let's say you say, but yeah, I'm getting it from someone, whoever, and they're giving me a certificate of authenticity, and you feel tick box safe. However, the certificate of authenticity, if you think of an iceberg, that is just the tip of the iceberg, right? The bottom is actually what caused the Titanic to sink, right? And that is where we're looking at the stability of the product, the sterility of the product, how it has been transported. Because we know, like I said in the beginning, peptides are basically amino acids bunched together to make a protein, and proteins are very unstable when they are exposed to heat or temperature changes, to light, and to different compounds. So what the problem might be is because you are injecting it directly into your bloodstream, you are bypassing a lot of the barriers of your body that are there to protect you from organisms or from viruses or from bacteria or from compounds that might kill you. So if you are ingesting something, your stomach acid is so acidic that it kills off a lot of the things and only takes the good stuff. But if you're injecting something directly into your bloodstream, your barrier is pretty much nil, you know? So that is why it is very important to note that if you are getting these peptides, because people are still using them, and I mean the benefits sound incredible, let's be honest, just be mindful about where you are getting them and whether or not it is a reputable source, and if it is made in a sterile condition, if it's transported correctly, is it being stored correctly? Because unfortunately, like I say, proteins are so fragile and they can clump together, making a bigger molecule of what it should be, and then either it isn't being used in the body for what it should be, or it can actually cause damage or even worse, death. So it is really important to be mindful of that. Okay, but now that's all the doom and gloom. Let's talk about these peptides, because I mean, they are circulating your social media and you are definitely interested in it, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, right? So some of the common peptides we see, and my personal opinion is, I also think that, you know, if we can get to a point where these products are being made safe and in the correct way, and we get the research to show that the long-term effects aren't detrimental or bad for us, then I am all for it. So don't get me wrong, I think this is an amazing time that we're living in, and I really hope that the research is just going to pick up a lot more, which I believe it will, so that we can use these products safely, know exactly what the dosages are, what the protocols are, and all of those things. So let's talk about the common peptides. BPC-157, I've already mentioned, is a very popular peptide because it has been shown to help with gut health. It has been shown with tendon recovery or ligament repair or recovery overall, and just general well-being. If we're looking at the research behind BPC-157, it's very limited, if all, and mostly done on rats. And if there are human studies, it's maybe like 2, and the research conditions weren't very, how would you say, strict, and the processes and the protocols weren't applied very effectively. So it has to be taken with a pinch of salt. So that's the fact with BPC-157, and very much the same with TB-500. The human studies are just so limited. If we're looking at GHK copper, which has been shown to be this amazing peptide for your skin and collagen and hair and so forth, it has actually the most studies when it comes to these peptides, but specifically for topical use. So if you are buying a cream that has GHK copper in it, yes, it has been shown to be very effective, it works, it's amazing, but it has not been tested as an injectable at all. So we don't know what it's going to cause, how it's going to affect the body in the long term. And the same with all of the rest. So the research is definitely emerging. A lot of people and big pharma and pharmaceutical companies are pushing for a lot more research for these compounds and these peptides because, let's be honest, the benefits and the effects that they have and that they are claimed to have are amazing. So we definitely want to get to a point where we can use it. My last peptide I want to talk about is retatrutide. So this is one that's also circulating hectically for weight loss. And this one has not even been discussed by the FDA panel. So it's not even at that point. It's like literally in trial phases. So it's definitely not safe to use because we don't know what the effects are long term. We don't know the stability. We don't know the protocols to use it and all of that. And. So if you are using retatrutide, it's definitely illegal to buy it from or for someone to sell it. So just be mindful of that and rather opt for the GLPs or the semaglutide or tirzepatide that has actually been shown to be studied with numerous studies to show that it is actually effective. It works very well for weight loss. And if your goal is to lose weight, talk to your doctor to prescribe a GLP-1 or GLP, like for example Ozempic or Wegovy or Manjaro, because they work very well and they are safe because they have research behind them and so forth. So that's the moral of the story. Why am I going on and on and on about this? Is that I truly believe that this is an amazing time to live. I really hope that these peptides can become available to us in a safe way, that we can use them, because I do believe there's a lot of promise in it, and if we can get them from a reputable source that has all of the certifications in terms of the stability and the safety and the sterility and all of those things, then we can all use them safely and also know what the long-term effects are, what the protocols are, what the dosages are, and how we should be using them. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you learned a little bit through this, and I hope that it just makes you think a little bit more when you are maybe, reaching for peptide or getting your peptides from whatever source it might be. It's always better to get it under medical supervision, and from a reputable company. However, that's not something that's very possible at the moment because they aren't approved. So yeah, like I said, you are very welcome to send us any questions via WhatsApp if you have, or email, and then I'll see you in the next one.